You're listening to the Ballet Piano Podcast, lifting the lid on dance accompaniment.
Hello listeners and welcome back to another episode of the Ballet Piano Podcast. My name is Chris Hobson. To my left is my daughter, Hazel Hobson. Hello. To Hazel's left is Akiko Hobson.
Hello.
To Akiko's right is Matt Gregory.
You're on her right.
Well, Akiko, diagonally. Come on, stop splitting hairs. This is not lockdown time. We can't go, oh, my hair is too long. Oh, shut up. Say hello.
Hello, listeners.
And then to Matt's right is the gorgeous David Yeo.
Hi.
So this week, it's a bit of a hot topic, really, isn't it? It's a bit of a, not an axe to grind. It's not. It's just I think it's a hot topic. Studio etiquette.
Do's and don'ts of the ballet studio, I suppose.
What do you do and what do you not do? But obviously, we all go in there. We play, David teaches, people dance. That is what you do in a fundamental, basic way in a ballet studio and studio etiquette, isn't it?
But to make it work, what needs to be done?
Yeah, and there's things that dancers just know from growing up, from dancing from, really early on. Things like turning towards the bar to change sides. Mm-hmm. And someone said that recently. It's like you would turn towards your partner. Mm. Is that where it comes from?
Yeah, you're trying to do that.
Yeah. And things like that.
Is that a Royal Ballet School sort of thing, or is that worldwide over? Yeah, that's a general thing. You will always turn towards the bar.
Yeah. Where does reverence come from?
It's a sign of respect.
From the courts as well, where ballet began?
From Louis XIV and all that. Yeah.
And they would reverence before they danced to each other, wouldn't they?
Well, before you started, you had to reverence to the king.
Oh, yes. Of course.
And then the lessons just filtered down after that.
Yeah.
It was all about him or having your head chopped off, one of the two.
Just like working in a ballet school.
No, because I had a conversation recently with a teacher at another school who doesn't do reverence at the start or the end.
Oh, right.
And this particular school used to.
How do they then start and finish then? Do they just get in there?
Yeah, basically.
But how do you know when to finish then?
Well, after the Grand Allegro. And
do they just go, thank you very much?
Yeah, so they just thank you and applause.
Oh, I see.
And the school used to. And she said to me, those 2 extra minutes, I could probably use them jumping. Mm-hmm. Well, a reverence probably takes 30 seconds.
At best.
And it brings everybody together. It's a physical thank you, isn't it?
It's more often seen in vocational schools, you're right.
Yeah.
But it has filtered into like outside classes.
Yeah.
So
some teachers do them on the open circuit.
Yeah.
I
think it's quite nice.
You don't see a reverence in company, do you? But then you are thanked, like you say, in a different way in a company. Usually,
yeah.
Again, like sweeping generalisations, you don't tend to do reverences in company.
No, although someone like Iraq will always do a cool down.
Yeah,
and it finishes with a reverence.
With
like a little reverence that you would put in a port de bras.
Yeah,
it always finishes with that.
Yeah, do a port de bras.
They're like in an open fourth at the end of the cool down, and that to me is like a bit of a reverence. But he's the only one really at company level that I can think of.
All the years I worked for company, we didn't really ever do it. I mean, you might have had the odd guest teacher that would do it and say, okay, we'll do a cool down, then reverence.
Yeah, something like that. But
that's interesting.
You always know because if they're leaving early, they just grab the bag and stick the thumb up. That means I loved your music, I love the class, but I've got physio, so I can't stay for jumps. Things like that.
I quite like that. I like it when people do a thank you. It doesn't matter. I mean, reverence is very traditional and it's very nice. But if someone's got to leave early in a company particularly or wherever, just give you a little... Like even it could be like a little eyebrow, a little nod, just like nod of the head or something like thank you very much.
There was a time when all the teachers the class would finish at a school, and then all the students would like shake the hand of the teacher and shake the hand of the pianist.
Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh.
And I'd be like, this is great, but you've all got sweaty hands. So just say thank you. That's good enough for me. Because I didn't want to shake everybody's hand. They've all got sweaty hands.
But it just draws attention to the fact that there's been somebody that's been actually supporting them all the way through those students.
Don't get me wrong, I love it, and I think it should always be there. Yeah, I like that. When
Any kind of
when the
acknowledgement, I think, is
students-
important.
Yeah.
Especially for the younger generation.
Yes.
Yeah.
And in the modern age that we're in now, where musicians are expensive, like we're an expensive, like, as our
Not me.
teachers. You are, as I've said, I've received your invoices. But you know, it's expensive to have us for an hour and a half or 3 hours or whatever. So I think, and for the younger generation where everything is now, I sound like my granddad, but where everything's available, you know, instantly available. You can have me in your ballet class, you know, within a minute, but it's nice to be there in person. I think it actually instills something in the young generation who are doing this vocational and professional training to acknowledge that.
Yeah.
It's nice.
And I've got some teachers like you, David, where the reference is so important, because a lot of young dancers will do a reference, but they're eyeballing themselves in the mirror.
Yeah.
So, and you know, if you're going to do a reference, do a reference.
Yeah. It's like having a conversation and not looking somebody in the eyes,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah.
So do a reverence to the reason. If you're going to do an 8-count reverence, it's to acknowledge the teacher or the person who is watching and the musician who is accompanying your class. It's not to look stage left and stage right and look at yourself.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That really irks me.
Yeah.
In the studio, do you know what really annoys me?
Go on.
Lots of things.
Well, I mean, the fact that sometimes the Wi-Fi isn't working. But apart from that, apart from that, it's when people stand in front of the piano.
Yeah.
Yes.
And this is, I was always taught growing up as a dancer, never turn your back to the pianist.
Oh, that's a good one.
Never turn your back to the pianist. That's just what we would, you know, with the cane almost, that we, you know, never do that. And yeah, you never stand in front of the pianist. You just...
And why would that be, Matt? Why would you not stand in front of the pianist?
Because we can't see.
Because
Yeah,
we can't
that's it.
see.
Yeah.
Exactly
our job is to
that.
play for our job is to play for a dancer, isn't it?
Well,
And-
we are trying to
And
help, do our best to help them,
Yeah.
and then just standing in front of us.
It's like
we can't
sometimes
see.
you will slightly, you will pull a tempo because we are ultimately like in the, scratched down to the basic level of our job. We are an accompanist. Like if you were accompanying a violin sonata or an opera singer, you
You'd wanna see the
accommodate
singer,
and
yeah.
you want to see.
Yeah.
And we, I think it comes if you've got a bit of experience as a ballet pianist, you will know that you want to see what you're accompanying because you'll just make minor micro adjustments to what you're doing.
There should always be a direct line of sight between the pianist and the teacher.
Definitely.
Always.
Yeah.
You know.
I think it's really important that you point that out because often dancers just don't think.
Yeah. They're probably
the reason.
preoccupied with what, their work and their technique and,
But that's
all
part
those
of the
things.
etiquette of
Yeah.
being in the studio, isn't
Yeah.
it?
But
Absolutely.
that does that then come down to the teacher as well to make sure that while you're that's a teacher thing because the teacher's the one who's moving around.
Yeah.
It's especially at bar, it's the dog's grumbling because he wants us to play. That's a teacher's thing. I think especially at bar, you've got to make sure the teacher's got to make sure that you can see the pianist because they're the only one who is moving around for that first 30 to 45 minutes of that class.
And then some of the teacher forget and then put the coffee bag or water bottle right in front of me, like my face, on the piano.
Yeah.
And
Right.
okay,
Yeah.
first we can't see.
Right, I don't
Second-
stand for that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and the second, piano is a very expensive
Yeah.
instrument.
Yes. As soon as a dancer puts their elbow on the piano or any class, I'm saying, can you not lean on the piano?
This
You know,
might make
it's
me sound like
thousands of pounds. It's,
This
and
might
it's
make
my
me
instrument. It's disrespectful.
Absolutely.
you wouldn't go and put your coffee cup on a ballet bar,
No.
which is effectively a piece of wood.
Yeah.
I mean, this makes me sound like a bit of
You've got
a grumpy old. I've got loads of stories. A grumpy old so and so. But when I was, deemed as high risk in the pandemic and things like that, and everybody was back in the studio, and I was zooming in from home. There was a dancer, or two dancers, I think it was, who were using the piano, which was a new piano, as a ballet bar, and I lost it because I was like, "Are you okay there, David?"
Sorry. Stroking the dog and I don't know.
Yeah, no, I lost it. I was like, that's not a ballet bar. I don't care that nobody's sitting behind it. It's a £15,000 upright piano. You do not use that as a ballet bar because it's not.
Well, I've got a couple of stories going on from that years ago.
So I'm going to get off my high horse now. Anybody got a ladder?
Dismount.
Dun, 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 dun.
Many men. Anyway, a few years ago, I went to play for a class at Dance Works, and I love this dancer. I know her really well, but she sells these ballet skirts, and she'd got in the studio before me, and she had draped all the skirts over the piano because she was going to sell them during class, after bar, and at the end. And they were coming onto the sheet music stand on my side of the piano, and I went, "You are joking, aren't you?" I said, "You can't possibly leave those skirts there. I'm going to sit down and play this instrument. What are you doing?"
It's not a
It
wardrobe.
didn't occur to her.
No.
And recently as well, at the same studio in the Western Hemisphere, just off Oxford Street,
Near Selfridges.
Yeah, that one. They were obviously doing Zooming, and the manager wanted to put a monitor, like a TV screen, and stand it on the piano.
No. Really?
Yeah.
Oh my god!
And I said to her, "Are you stupid? I'm gonna play for these dancers. I'm gonna look at these dancers now. You literally obstructing my view." And penny dropped.
Oh. Well, at least it
Thankfully.
dropped.
Well, yeah. But it probably wouldn't have had what I said.
No.
You've got to kick off sometimes, though, haven't you?
Well, you're such an integral, important part of the class. So, yeah.
Yeah, but also, because I lost my temper a couple of weeks ago with professionals that I thought knew this studio etiquette. You can forgive in a certain amount, but even if you don't know ballet studio etiquette, standing directly in front of somebody who is trying to see, that's human decency, isn't it?
Yep.
As well.
If you're enjoying this episode, then why not visit the website balletpianopodcast.com and join the mailing list. You can access past episodes, transcripts, music playlists, and so much more. It will ensure you never miss new episodes or updates. That's balletpianopodcast.com.
You know what triggers me? And it's what you guys have been saying when people put stuff on the piano.
Oh, yeah.
I find it really disrespectful. In the same way that I was saying earlier, I wouldn't put my coffee cup on your ballet belt. I won't hang my coat off the side on my bag. I don't want you to put your point shoes, your paperwork if you're a student. The worst one is the bloody pins that people put in their hair.
Oh,
and I find them in
No,
the...
it actually goes into
And it
the
goes-
piano.
They go between the keys.
Yeah.
That
Go
breaks
between the keys, they'll go
mechanism.
through the top of the piano.
Yeah.
So I've given up now. So if I find pins on there, I'll walk in, I'll pick up the pins, and I throw it into the studio. That is the same as don't put your dirty hairpin on my piano. It's like, in the same way, I don't come and lick your face. Don't put your DNA on my piano.
Chris, can we do a Room 101 episode with just you, please?
And you said before this episode, don't get me triggered. Here we go.
I know. I mean, it's true though, isn't it? The dancers really should respect
Yeah.
the piano. You have stories of your line manager at your other job.
Well, yes,
'Cause
yeah.
she's a bit of a character, isn't she?
Yes. So where I work, we recently got a brand new piano in each studio, and it's beautiful Yamaha.
Are they Beckstein?
Yamaha,
Okay.
I think.
Just
I
check.
think
Not
it's,
Steinway.
no,
just
not
checking.
anymore. Not anymore.
Shame.
I think it's beautiful Yamaha C3, all of them. It's a brand new piano. It's beautiful, and so we got a very, very strict rule that my manager put every single piano. Please do not put anything. Oh, hello, Hazel. I think she
Hazel
wants-
agrees.
She agrees, yeah.
And
Respect the piano.
so it's. Oh, here we go.
Oh, it's buffet time.
Yeah, it looks like. So each studio has the notice said, please do not put anything, blah blah blah.
And they've got beautiful covers on them
Yeah,
as well,
and
haven't
each piano have this very thick, beautiful covers. But each pianist are supposed to put the cover at the end of the day, and if we don't, we are in trouble. We get email said that this studio wasn't covered,
they? Who was it?
and well, you can easily check on the timetable.
Well, someone's in the fire line.
Yeah. So yeah, it's a bit like, every time I finish playing in the studio, I check the time. Am I the last one in this studio today?
Panic.
But piano is beautiful,
Yeah.
so it will keep that way, I think.
David, on studio etiquette, where do you stand with doing a reverence when somebody comes into the studio?
I think if you're in a vocational school and you make that part of your etiquette that you do in the studio, if a artist director comes in or a guest comes in, that you acknowledge their entrance. I think that's important that you do it every time.
Yeah.
Because it gets confusing to the student if you only do it sometimes and then you don't do it other times.
Yeah, they go, do we do it? Do we not?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It gets very, So I think it's important to either stick to your rule of doing that. And I think it's nice if you have somebody new that you acknowledge that there's somebody coming to watch you.
Yeah.
And that they're a special VIP person. Other than just letting them sneak in and just completely ignoring them. I don't think that kind of works really.
Mm. It's nice. I quite like the reverence to acknowledge the guest when they come in. Particularly in vocational training, I think it teaches there's Winston as well. Gosh, everyone, we really have the full.
Wants the
We've all, they're all on it. Everyone's on it today, aren't they? Yeah. No, I like it when we've got the half reverence when somebody comes in. It's just like it's a sense of occasion and like you said, acknowledgement of somebody.
Yeah.
As long as it's not happening every 5 minutes.
Yeah. But is there like a house style for a school? Because you've worked at many schools. Are there different things that different schools do?
Yes.
Like some might not do that half reverence, but they'll introduce the person who's just coming in to watch for a bit, won't they?
Yes. Some of them have music, some of them don't.
Yeah.
I think it's nice that they do when they do have music. But yeah, there are places that don't.
Yeah.
Well, like at the start of class, because I was Akiko's maternity cover for her other job a little bit when baby H was first born. And I went into the class and the teacher said to me, reverence. And at the same time, Akiko had messaged me, like seconds later, messaged me and said, it's only 4 bars. But because it was my first day in there, I was like, I'll be good. I won't look at my iPad. I won't look at my phone. So I missed it. And then I saw it 90 minutes later. She said, it's only 4 bars. Learned that to my error. But bless them, they were really sweet. They just stood there for 4 bars.
That's so sweet.
But if you have a new pianist, it is etiquette for the teacher to then help the new person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just we just do 4 bars going in. Yeah.
Sometimes you go to play a reverence and the teacher hasn't told you how long the reverence is.
Yes. I think that's not good.
Because some references are double the length,
Yes.
aren't they? They've got choreography in them.
Yes.
I've been playing the same reverence for 15 years. I remember writing it. I composed it because I didn't have a reverence, and I just play it in every key. But then, of course, I have to learn how to extend it, or have a B section to it, because then I want to go into the A section for the big reverence.
Yeah.
My favourite reverence is "That's All, Folks." Yeah, I'll stick it on the YouTube on the socials. Yeah,
Should we all play our references?
Yeah, okay, we'll do that. We'll all video our own reverences. Yeah, stick it on the website. And what else is there with studio etiquette? Yeah, so not standing in front of us. A bit that we've talked about previously, like having eye lines with teachers.
This is a thing, coming from the corner, the dancers knowing how to position themselves. Yes. Mm-hmm. That's something they should learn, really.
Dancers tend to get very lazy about their things because they're only coming group by group. They tend to think that the people who are not on dancing have completely switched off.
Yeah.
And so that's when the etiquette goes.
Yeah.
That they don't actually realise that they're still part of the class. And lots of times you're still trying to train them what it's like to stand on the stage doing no steps, but you're still dressing the stage, shall we say? So that's part of being part of the class still.
Yeah.
So you're right. Yeah.
We had a day at Birds when I was training. It was a ballet class, but it was like Red Arrows training. We didn't do any steps. We walked in our and then, the Grand Allegro goes round the corner. So then where are you in the new front? Right. Where's the new back?
So important.
Stagecraft.
Yes.
We learnt that.
Yeah.
When we were young.
I think it's so important that you do learn that.
And then stagecraft, like when you teach that at vocational ballet school, is stagecraft actually like Matt just said, or like, because you've been doing some classes recently where stagecraft is mime as well?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's all part of stagecraft.
Yeah, it's all
It's
stagecraft.
all about being on stage and how you behave, and how you acknowledge that you are being watched.
Yeah.
You're always on view on the stage.
Yeah.
And in a class, it's very difficult to remember that, especially if you're going in little groups. To remember, even if you're standing at the stage, at the side of the stage, your body language says a lot about where you are mentally.
It's an interesting one, isn't it?
It is.
I've tried to come off my soapbox for this one because I'm aware that I got really on there.
It's something as well. For example, let's say the Grand Allegro finishes stage left when the next group is starting up stage left. So that the group that's been has to know to travel down, downstage on their last 8 counts. So then they don't get in the way of the group that's about to start. But I guess that's just, they have to just look at the exercise as a whole and think, where does it start? Where does it finish? Or does the teacher inform them that they should travel downstage for the last 8 counts?
It depends on the actual level of your students, where they are in their training. But as you said before, actually spacing something before you do it is so important to somebody who's less experienced, shall we say.
Yeah.
Because to physically feel your body is in a different part of the studio than where you started, often is a big thing. Because when you're thinking about the technicalities of the steps, sometimes you don't realize where you are in the studio.
Yeah.
So to actually physically just walk those, what that feels like, then helps you it informs you about what it should feel like by the time you've gone from A to B.
Yeah. And even staggering the lines.
Yes.
You would never go in all dancers in the center and stand directly behind someone. You'd always go off their right shoulder.
Yeah.
So looking across the stage, they're in lines, but front on, they're staggered, and then everyone can see everybody.
I guess it's an extension of when you start to learn how to do ballet. You're doing it singly by yourself.
Yeah.
So when you come into the center, as you progress, to then start thinking about other people and acknowledge them in the room and finding, like, standing in a straight line is one of the most hardest things to do on stage. So teaching your
towing the
students,
line,
exactly, to be in line or offset from somebody else. It's just an extra extension of what your training is, really.
Gosh, ballet is difficult.
But when it all comes together, I just think it's marvelous when everybody knows the reverence and it's beautifully executed. And then David, you choreograph one group into the other, and they all come in the lines, and they stagger their lines, and they're all ready, and the etiquette is there. I just think it looks impressive. It looks marvelous.
That's part of the training, isn't it?
Yeah, it's disciplined, it's schooled.
You learn it in the establishment, so that you go, when you're 18, 19, you get the job straight into the company, because it's not like you go to university to then learn your craft, like in other, in different vocations. 18, 19, you're on it. That's it. You've got 15 years if you're very, very lucky.
Yeah, and the nice thing is at the company, you see the younger dancers giving way to the principals. You go down to the front or whatever, and then you
That's
can
etiquette,
and they're all
unspoken rules.
Yeah, exactly, unspoken rules, and everyone's just really decent to each other.
It's respect, isn't it, really?
Yeah, it
All the
boils
way
down
around.
to that.
So on respect, don't put your stuff on top of my piano. Matt, what's coming up next week?
Well, next week, listeners, we have an in conversation with Lorian Slaughter. He is an ex-ballet dancer. He does Pilates and physio and dance science. And his approach to ballet is special, unique, and really interesting. So listen out to that episode.
So that's coming up next week. If you're listening live, it's next week. If you're not listening live, it's the next episode. Click on next. So for now, it's goodbye from me.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Bye, everyone.